Okay, welcome back to the Postie bike charity build for Make-A-Wish Foundation. Today we're just going to start getting the donor bike pulled down. So we're going to start on the engine basically and see get that going so that when we put our frame together and stuff, we've got something to put back in there. So what I did with this motor, it wasn't running when I got it, so I just did a basic process of elimination just to get it going. And these are basic checks you can do if your engine's not running or you've got an issue with it. I'll just get into it now. So what I've done is I've removed the spark plug. I've just set it up on the head here and I've just got it close to a bolt. So what I'm going to do is kick over the engine and look for a spark there. If I've got a spark there, it means we're pretty good. So basic things. Check the kill switch is not on. Turn the key on, so the key's on. That's basically about it for these things. So give it a kick and hopefully you can see it. Okay, I think you should be able to see that. So we've got spark. So when I was getting this motor running the other day, first thing I checked, great, I've got spark. There's all sorts of things with coils, bits and pieces that can change the amount of spark. That looked like a pretty healthy spark to me. So we've got spark, that's one thing to tick off. We'll go to the next. Alrighty, so we've established that we've got spark. Check that if you've got fuel. I have got fuel in there. Check that the fuel tap is on. So something caught me out when I first started on these bikes, and you know, when you worked on it for a while and you get used to them, you go, how could I do that? But if you don't know, you don't know. So I had mine on reserve. Sorry, not on reserve, just had the fuel tap on. There was fuel in the tank, but there wasn't enough to cover the pickup. So it actually needed to be flicked over to reserve so that the fuel was there. Sometimes when you're trying to start a bike, you'll just throw a little bit of fuel in there just to get it going. It's not enough, and if it's not in reserve, so that actually caught me out. Even though I've had motorbikes my whole life and have reserves and stuff, I just didn't think about it. So, you know, there's these little things you just got to check before you start ripping carbies apart and rebuilding them and doing all sorts of stuff. It's basic things that we can check. Choke, it's a lever choke carby, up is on, down is off. Now, what I did was I got these carbies online. They're 20 bucks or 25 bucks delivered. I've got one in the shed all the time, just with this little pod filter on it. It's a backup, it's a spare, but also if I've got a bike like this and I'm not sure if it runs or not, it's great to just have it because it's a known quantity. Like, I know that runs. I put it on. If there's issues with the other carby, I always keep the original carbies and can rebuild them. They're probably better quality than the cheap ones that we've got, but just to get you going and to rule out any other possible issues, we'll throw the carby and this carby on so that we know that we've got a running carby. We check all these fuels and I'll just give it a kick over and see how we go. Okay, so ignition switch is on, kill switch is in the right position, fuel taps on, chokes up. Down. So this runs now, I've had it running. I don't know if you can hear through how good the audio is. It's not a happy engine. It's got some serious noise coming out of there, so I'll keep it off. It's stalled, but it's got a knock in it. So in my experience, that it could be a few things that it's a little bit noisy. So what I actually have done already is I've tried to adjust the cam chain. I can do a video on that if you guys want to see that. I think there is some on it already. I've adjusted the cam chain. It didn't make a difference. That doesn't mean it's not the cam chain, because sometimes they'll be that worn, they're fully adjusted up, but they're still flopping around and making noise. Valves aren't adjusted up right. All the pistons just worn out and rattling around. So I did actually, when I had this running before, I took it for a run up the road, just to the end of the street and back, just to make sure it went through the gears, it selected all the gears, which it did. There's no clunking, the gears were nice and smooth, the clutch is fine. So based on that, I'm gonna hope that the bottom end's fine. I will check it later on, but I'm gonna assume that it changes gears fine. There was no noises, so we're gonna work with this engine. So next few videos, I'm gonna pull out the engine. I'm gonna start to pull it apart basically, and bit by bit, and see what's wrong. We don't really need to pull the clutch cover off too much, but we will, because we'll change the strainer for the oil, which is hidden in there. We'll take the other side off. We'll be able to look at the cam chain, look at the cam chain rollers, work out that, and we'll take the head off, and then we can see the bottom of the head, see the valves, and check the piston. And I'm sure in some of that we'll find the issue. The other thing is you can check the bottom end bearings by moving the conrod basically, and seeing if there's any play in that. If it does have a lot of play and slop in it, then we're probably looking at a bigger issue. So I'll just show you that one. I've got one here. It's got stuff all over it, and spring bits and pieces. So this is an engine I've got. It's got a good gearbox, but this big end, you can see that actually slops backwards and forwards and side to side. So everything else in this engine's fine except for that. You can change those bearings, so that's why it's still sitting there. It's not completely gone, but that was making noise. So had a loud tick, and that was the cause of it on this engine. So that doesn't really have that sort of ticking sound like that one did. So yeah, I won't bore you anymore with engine bits and pieces, but that's the basics. A basic check, get it running. If you've got a carb you know works, that's great. If you don't, you're gonna have to clean the carb out, adjust it back to standards, and see how you go. It just adds an element of doubt. So it could actually be fine, but there's something wrong with the carb, and that's the reason it's not running. So I think $25 or whatever it was is a good investment if you're trying to get. And then when you do the rest of the work, you've still got a carb that's tuned, and then you can play with the other one and take your time and do it right. All right, I hope someone's learnt something from that, and that's we've got it running. So we've got a running motor, albeit very noisy. We'll get it out and get it fixed up.